We want to welcome you to another one of the only Hog Talk podcast, part of the Believe and the Buzz Radio networks. And you can always hear us on all podcast platforms as well as Buzz 2 on 106.7 in Central Arkansas. So please like, rate, and review our podcast. And we're coming to you live from the Quarry Hyman Studios. I'm your host, Porter Hayes of Sports and Culture Arkansas. Alongside me is Jacob Davis from Arkansas Fight, and we're brought to you by Bet Online. And all of our live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company and Ozark, Arkansas. And as always, you can find our latest odds and sports development, including this year's Masters, this year's hockey finals, Major League Baseball, Home Run Derby, fighting news. So head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV to get your bonus, to get in the action. And Bet Online is where the game starts. And we will start the show. We got it's the time in between talking season, but Arkansas has a team in this tournament. It's called the basketball tournament. For those who are not familiar with it, it is a grown man's league. As long as you're not in an NBA contract, you can sign up, you can put a team together, enter this, apply it. I think they turned away like 40 teams this year. Started 2014, Notre Dame alumni team won it the first time. Overseas Elite went on a 4-time run. And then you had Cayman's Crew, and then last year Bayham's Army, which was out of the Syracuse. A lot of these are alumni based from school. So I've watched it from the beginning. I fell in love with it. I got in contact with Keith Kelly, who was the GM of the first GM of Team Arkansas. Now Monty Patel and Sonny Weems run the team this year. And just getting to know, Dan, the Elam guy, who, they have the Elam inning, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But Jacob, I don't know how long you've watched this thing, but I'll get your take on what you think about the tournament. But I'll tell you what, it's a different league and it's a different type of tournament.
Yeah, it is really neat. I've watched it. I probably watched it when Arkansas, when Keith Kelly started it, and it was like the Golden Boot Dynasty. That was his first team, and then he reshuffled it up and started the Team Arkansas. And I really thought Team Arkansas really built something. It was generally off of just mainly former Razorbacks, and then as it transformed, it's guys that are affiliated with the state of Arkansas. And, it's really cool seeing guys like a Chris Coffey and all them. And we'll get to those guys later. But a guy that just really goes and plays hard every single possession, offensively and defensively. But it's a different league, man. At points you're like, man, this is some weird basketball. Like, they don't score for like minutes at a time. But you got to think about it. These guys haven't played together very long. They're limited practice. I think I heard what Monty Patel say on whatever Justin Acree's show and Wes Moore's show was last Friday. They were talking about how many days they had the last season before they played in the first round against the Funk, the TCU alumni team last year. I think they said they only had like 3 days of practice, when the Funk team, they had like a month or so of practice, and Arkansas ended up beating them. But yeah, this is like the furthest Arkansas has been in the TBT. So I can't say the TBT because it's actually the basketball tournament.
Yeah,
it's the furthest been in TBT. It's so
it does get confusing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been really immersed in it. and I've been a part of Team Arkansas. This is my second year. I went up to Wichita last year, and they won their first game and got beat by Challenge ALS. Another aspect of this tournament that I like, and we're going to have Coach Monty Patel on here in a few short minutes, in between 8:45, 9 o'clock. They're in Omaha right now getting ready, but, for the regional final against Gutter Cat Gang. And for those who don't know, that's Team Hines. Team Hines is a very well-known, one of the staples. I mean, he's up there with, Sideline Cancer, Overseas Elite, Boeheim's Army, and so you get, to know it's a small brotherhood. Once you start, like, I've been able to connect with the people at Sideline Cancer, and me personally, if I wasn't immersed with, Team Arkansas, one of my favorite teams that I would root for would be Autism Army because of my son.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. You get to get connected. They play for causes. There's a mental toughness team. There's a diabetes team. There's a pancreatic cancer team. The Challenge ALS has a team in it. And so each year there's somebody playing for a different cause. And Dan Friel, who heads it up, lets these teams in. They get sponsors. You can pay people. Now, this is the cool thing about it. I mean, it's $1 million prize, but you don't win anything unless you win the whole tournament. It's a one and done. And as you were alluding to, I mean, so you think this is a once-a-year deal. You've got maybe a week or two to prepare to play in the game, and you're picking up. It's just a pickup game. And sometimes you get to play with the same players. But I've noticed this year some of the players that – like Rice that played on the winning team last year, Boeheim Army. He's playing for another team. I can't remember exactly which team, what roster he's playing with, but it's just then they opened up a Rucker Park. Like, I would love to go watch, them play at Rucker Park. It's really cool, the whole thing. And, Jacob, we're really trying. I mean, with Arkansas making this deep run, and like I said, more of this will go over when we have Monty on and really talk to him about the possibilities. But we're really trying to get Arkansas as host, talk to Dan. If we can get the U of A and the university backing, this thing could be in Fayetteville. This team is a popular team. Dan loves the team. How Monty has just taken over this team and what they've been able to do with Sonny Weems. And, you've got Courtney Fortson playing Coffee. You've got Hunter Mickelson. These guys that have just stepped up this year and been a complete team. This is the most complete team they've had. I know, and I had some kind of backlash yesterday about, well, they're not playing their best basketball. Well, I mean, they don't understand how hard it is to play in the TBT. They do not understand you're playing against grown men. The refs let you play. That's the biggest thing I noticed. The refs really let you play when they're going along. Like, there's sometimes you're like, that's a foul, and you're like, they're calling it both ways. So, I mean, that's right. What other things have you noticed when it comes to you've watched that has stood out to you different watching TBT than you have, say, like an Arkansas Razorback game?
Yeah, so when you're watching TBT, the speed of the game is really different. It's kind of in between the college game and the NBA game. It's a fast-paced game, but you can also tell, like, there's some guys that are older and are, they're not as athletic as what they were, but they're still giving it. They're all I like the concept of having guys like Aldon Gilder that played for the Omaha Blue Crew last night, played 4 seasons in college just 2 years ago when he played for Texas A&M. I'm like, that guy's name sounds really familiar. So I looked him up, and he played at Texas A&M for 3 seasons before transferring to Gonzaga 2 seasons ago. It's seeing these guys that are refreshing faces, and you're like, well, that's what they've been doing. That's what these guys have been up to. And you're getting to learn some of these guys on the outside looking in. You're seeing these guys that they're professionals, and they're wanting to further themselves in the professional game too. So that's a really cool thing. Not as far as what what goes on the court, but their individual performances and being able to gain professional contracts outside of this, because it's basically a tryout league. You have leagues like this going on all over the country right now. to get noticed. And that's the cool thing. Like Chris Coffey going off last night for, I think he had like 16 and 15 last night.
He had a double-double.
A guy, yeah. But the guy, like, I knew of him because he played on last year's team, but he was making a name for himself and probably
think about this. We're talking about college. He played NAIA.
Yeah.
He was the NAIA Player of the Year. And that's
American.
the thing, like, these NAIAs, like here in Arkansas, the only one I can really think of maybe is college at the University of Ozarks in Clarksville. That's the only one that maybe I don't know what's Lyon College up in Batesville.
Lyon is Division III.
So I mean, you think about something like a college like that, NAIA,
right.
But that's what if correct me if I'm wrong, that's what UCA was when Scottie Pippen was there, correct?
Yes, they were NAIA.
So you think about the lower, you have basically Division I, Division II, Division III. Then, in my eyes, you have JUCO 1, JUCO 2, and then NAIA.
Yes.
Somebody like a John Brown University out of Siloam Springs. Some of these, some of the smallest schools that you could go play. That's what NAIA is, and not saying that there's anything wrong with it. That's just the type of players. And yeah, he had 16 and 13. Of course, Barford's going to get his, but I'll tell you what. Who really has impressed me, the way he has ran the floor. He has played a different type of animal. And even in the first game, let me look at the stats. He had 20 and 12. That's Hunter Milkelson. Dude, that dunk he had yesterday, I mean, running the floor like a guard.
That was nasty.
And, last year, and it's weird. It seems like it takes you a year to kind of gel and get used to this TBT. You're getting used to, again, what I said with the whole – getting used to how they call the fouls, how everything's played out. And I think, sometimes, and then if you're on a team that has a bunch of shooters, like they had Dusty Hannis on there last year, along with Jalen Barford. And so they have Courtney Fortson at the point guard. He's second in total assists. Barford's first or second when it comes to, total points. So, I mean, it's been a breath of fresh air for them to make it as far as they have. And it's just, this is where I'll tell you what, if you don't have a team of dogs, you're going to be sent home. You're not going to make it far when it comes to that.
Yeah. And that Chris Coffey, I'm sorry to keep bringing him up, but the dude's got some dog in him. I saw a picture of a dog inside of a X-ray. Yeah.
I love that meme.
I love that. I love that meme. I meant to save it to my phone, and it's so, that's just something that you don't hear it. You don't hear about that stuff outside of like the Arkansas Twitter and stuff, and other teams talking about it. But look, man, it's just, he's like the typical Arkansas guy that's overlooked. He just has a lot of dog in him, and we were talking about that on Twitter last night. Just so many Arkansas guys that have been through the university that just have dog in them. The dude just has a fight, and this dude's not even affiliated with the University of Arkansas, but he has got some dog in him. He'll fight you, and I wouldn't want to be – him and Kamani Johnson are two guys that I wouldn't want to be in a street fight with. I'm telling you right now, because Kamani Johnson for the Razorbacks, he's from Brooklyn, and then that Coffee guy, man, I'd hate to see either one of those guys at a bar.
Well, I'll tell you what, Trey Wade's not doing too shabby down low neither. I mean, that's Trey the thing. You've got a perfect balance. This team, and I've watched this since the beginning, and it takes good guard play. You need a good guard because you're playing against a bunch of people who are used to being the stars on their team overseas. They're averaging 20, 30 points a game overseas. So you come together. You try to get these guys to gel in a week-long mini camp, but you got Courtney at the one. Then you have Barford at the 2, Hunter's down low. Then you've got Trey Wade. Then you've got Coffee. I mean, they've got some dogs. And then you think Dusty was supposed to play. Then he's in summer league. So you think, just think about this kid. He's from Farmington, Arkansas. Just got done. He's playing at Eufus. Matthew Wilson, they give him a call up. Hey, man, you will make $50,000. Come win this tournament with us. That's the thing. You go from playing at University of Arkansas, Fort Smith, And if they win this whole thing, he can win $50,000. Courtney
That's a nice
Ford's
payday.
yeah, and for playing basketball. And that's the thing. Some of the like they had a We Are D3 team, bunch of D3 guys playing, and the upsets. It's almost like a March Madness. And I really wish more people. And I think this thing really hit up when it comes to, COVID, because that was the only thing going on at the time.
Yeah.
And this tournament, was played in a bubble scenario, just like everything else, and how it kind of took shape and took hold. And just captured the nation by storm. And now what I really love is the fact that Team Arkansas has won their first 2 games. They ended up beating, and that's another cool thing. The team that they played was a YouTube-based team. Some YouTube guys from St. Louis that plays in a St. Louis Pro-Am. You raise enough money, you get accepted. They got 20-something thousand followers on YouTube and Facebook, and then they get to be in the tournament. And Arkansas beat them 72-69. Courtney Fortson hit the game winner. And then you go up against Omaha Blue Crew, which this is their second year, but they got to host in their second year. So it is very – I would love to see this thing in Barnhill. I mean, could you imagine, like, we talk about this fan base all the time, Jacob. Could you imagine this thing being played in Barnhill Arena?
I actually posed that question. Yeah, Barnhill would be a pretty cool place to watch a game. And they have opened that up to the red-white game. Musselman's done a great job, man. He markets the heck out of it. I can't imagine that actually happening. It'd be cool to see it happen, though, because I'm too young to know what Barnhill is actually like as a Razorback fan. It's something different. I mean, you remember the spirit of Barnhill. You remember the way the roar of the crowd and being able to watch the highlights that War Machine puts up. I think you could probably sell out 10,000 seats. I think it sits 10,000 people. You can probably get 8,000 people to come watch a TBT game during the middle of the summer.
Yeah, and it would take the Arkansas game. Like, you watch some of these other games, there maybe be 100 people there. And I know it's hard to get
people on vacation.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'd even talked about maybe the possibility of like Hot Springs if they couldn't get it in Fayetteville. You got Hot Springs, which you could play it down there where they played the state tournament games and the state championship
or you
games.
Play the Jack Stevens Center.
I don't think I'm looking at logistics and parking and
okay.
I'm looking at the grand scheme of.
Yeah,
we couldn't have it in Fayetteville. I would really love to get it into Hot Springs because the tourists, the casino, the draw, everything that comes with that. But
I like that idea. I didn't think about that side of things either.
But I did talk to Dan, who is the one of the founders of this TBT tournament. He really loves the university backing. So. Me and Monty and the team, I'm actually been fortunate to be a part of the staff of Team Arkansas and really promote this team social media wise. And I was supposed to be in Omaha, but the game yesterday was, 7:00 at night. You're in Omaha, and then I had to be at work Sunday morning. So it just logistically wasn't going to work out. But I mean, I would look, man, if this thing kicks off and we can, win this region final, then they go to Wichita, which I'm telling you what. When I watched Arkansas, they got beat by Challenge ALS, and then the aftershocks is the Wichita State alumni team. You would think you're watching a game, Kentucky versus Arkansas game in Bud Walton Arena. That is how electric that stadium gets, and it's crazy. So, but I'll tell you what, we've talked about this TBT, and we've had a special treat for you. So, without further ado, we are going to bring in the head coach of Team Arkansas TBT, Coach Monty Patel. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. How are y'all?
Man, we've been talking about this crazy run that y'all have been on, and you've had a day off to reflect about these past 2 games. So just tell us how it's been.
Oh man, the experience is great. The run has been great. A lot of support. Our sponsors have been great. So everything's good. We're enjoying it. We're having a good time. We live in the moment. That's the big thing about this. It's like an NCAA tournament feel. Live in the moment and survive in advance.
Yeah, and your first game. It's weird. I was telling Jacob. I had a pleasure to be part of the staff this year and kind of you get to see who that first game's against, and you look at this YouTube team, and you're trying to look at them, but it's like, one, the team that they promoted wasn't the team they put on the floor. So one, I mean, how hard was that to kind of prepare for that team, and just how hard is it in general to prepare for this TBT in general?
I mean, honestly, it hasn't been with the you take the guys team. You know, people are putting in their branding, but we knew the best players were going to play. They might throw the other guy in there, and I mean, just from a basketball game plan perspective, when we knew that one of the guys came in, he's not a professional. He's a good basketball player, probably played college, if I remember correctly. But it was as soon as he gets in, pick on him. Let's get him in a ball screen. Let's get him in an action. Let's pick on him and get him out quick. What we're not trying to do is be a YouTube sensation. You know, we needed everything in that game, but guys are still figuring out, you know, how to play with each other and stuff. Obviously, the game looked much cleaner on our end the second game. And I would imagine and I hope the next game will be even cleaner because we're starting to get used to our tendencies and how we play together. So, I mean, even with all these guys, they're professionals, and it's not as much X's and O's as much as it will be on personnel. But even then, we're scouting the heck out of everybody, making sure we have, like, our guys know what, you know, they're doing. And everyone's on short time anyway, so just get their actions and move on.
Well, and you know, this being your second year, now you've had a year to prepare. You know what it's like to be a head coach of the basketball tournament. You know what it takes, what kind of team you need to play in this kind of tournament. So, you know, what has that helped you and prepare this year compared to where you were last year when y'all played in Wichita?
Relationships more. It's coaching, in my opinion, is always about relationships. How well do you know your guys? How direct can you be with them? How strong and confident are you when you tell them something that they will understand, respect it, and do it? So with that, it's been, hey, getting to know these guys, having some background in some of these other guys, and just not very hard. Everyone's a professional and everyone knows what they're doing. I got a guest with me too. Y'all may know him, y'all may not. I don't know.
Yes. Also Workman's Travels
Let me give
Hotline. We got Courtney.
Let me give him an airbud here
with us.
Lefty.
Courtney, I really have to ask you right off the bat, how cool was it to hit one of the famous Elam endings? I mean, what was that like?
I can't even describe it. I mean, after 2 years being off and a fairy tale ending like that, I mean, it was too good to be true.
Well, it was a pleasure, you seeing you play, and we were talked about the similarities between, this year's team and last year's team. And I'll tell you what, from my perspective, I think this is one of the most complete teams that there is in TBT, the rebounding, the scoring, the point guard play. So just talk about your team as a whole and how you feel moving into, the regional final, where this is the first time Team Arkansas has been there.
As a team, I just feel like we're so talented that if we keep everything simple, then our talent will show more. Instead of us, getting those one-on-one situations or, low clock situations with no option. So I think we can keep the game simple with, Dusty and JD and all those other guys. I mean, we'll be okay.
Yeah, and also, just what team, I mean, please think, Team Hines has been in this thing for, numerous years. So you're going against, and in any region, that's the one thing about this tournament. There's no such thing as a bad draw. So how does that help you prepare mentally, knowing that every single game you're getting their best, because they know when this game over, their shot at $1 million is over with.
Right. For me, it's a dog eat dog. I'm not going into the game like that. I approach life like that. So for me, I understand. The intensities don't be very high. It might be in the beginning of the game, might be a little tight, low scoring. Both veteran teams. You got a lot of guys play overseas, and a lot of successful guys actually. Tyrese Rice, one of my good friends. Great point guard MVP last year of the tournament. So we'll have our hands full, but I think we'll be okay.
Jacob, you got anything for him?
So, what are your thoughts on some of the guys that are the lesser known guys? We were talking about Chris Coffey earlier. Some guys like Matt Wilson from UAFS. What are some of your thoughts on the guys out there that are lesser known that are making a name for themselves in TBT?
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, that's what makes the TBT so beautiful. I mean, guys like that can get a look, and before you know it, boom, he's playing high level basketball overseas somewhere. You know, he's just hurt. So it's a good deal.
And another attribute to the game, Hunter Mickelson, you know, he from last year to this year, you were talking about one of the most improved players, in my opinion, on Team Arkansas. Just the way he run the floor on that dunk yesterday. I mean, it's like he was another guard out there. So just between him and Coffee, I want to ask you as a point guard, you know, what does it mean having two guys like that if you throw up a shot and you miss it, comes off you've got two guys, and even if Trey Wade's down there, but they're going to put it back and give you those second chance points.
Well, for me being a veteran point guard, like I kind of noticed the team was crashing on me a lot when I shot the ball, so I shot a house and glass, so all guys can have a chance to, crash and get those buckets, and it did work out.
So what would be the biggest thing moving forward? You got the game again, you got a day off to kind of rest and prepare. You know, what are you looking forward to, tomorrow night when it comes to, playing against Team Hines, in the Gutter Cat game?
Just to see where we're at. A lot of people think we're going to lose the game, of course, but I just want to see where we're at. I think they're fast, to be honest. Like I said, I like our chances, especially with one of our super weapons coming back. I like our chances.
I like to hear that. And Coach, I got a question for you, and this is just the tournament as a whole. What has it meant for you, just statewide coverage, all the publicity, all the support that you've been getting this year that I've noticed from the local media, the men's basketball team, Coach Musselman. So what has that been to you, seeing all the social media activity and just the support you've been getting this year?
I mean, for me, the publicity doesn't matter. I get that Team Arkansas is a brand, and so luckily I've got really good people, Siva, Brandy, and Eli, that are doing our content for us so it can be off my plate. Me, I enjoy just being on social media, talking trash to friends, talking basketball, but the publicity or whatever, it is what it is. I enjoy that the state is backing us, that we're starting to get more followers. We're getting more interactions throughout our social media, so that makes it helpful. And then hopefully we get more sponsors the next year and the next year and the next year to help us out, like while we're coming down here. But publicity-wise, for me personally, don't matter. I hope our kids watch, like the kids I coach in high school and AAU watch, so they can learn and they take in the experience I have and take that knowledge and use it to their games to get better there. But aside from that, not a big deal.
And this question would be for both of y'all. What would it mean, for all the hard work that y'all have put in, this deep run, and knowing that in Omaha's second year they got to host, what would it mean that if you got the backing and to where we could possibly get this thing in Fayetteville or somewhere in Arkansas to show how far y'all have come as a team, that you deserve a host spot?
Well, for me, that's one of my personal goals, especially with my first year being here, and just seeing the potential. Me being a real estate guy anyways, and the potential of, what Arkansas can bring to the tournament as far as the fan support. It's a great city. It's perfect for the TBT in my opinion.
My end of it is like seeing the staff of TBT work, how much they help us, and they're so good to us as our team, taking care of us when it comes to gym times, to hey, we need this, we need that. And good people like that I want around, and our state can use that, and they can see the good guys on our team. Like, hey, Courtney hasn't played in Arkansas since 2006, 2007? No, 2008. You're a little old. 2008, but I do remember going to watch the Texas game, so it was 2008. But even then, it's like, hey, look how good he really is. Because, he has NBA opportunities. He loves the cultures of China. He liked going back over. But, let's look at these guys after they're going. It's the funnest part to me of this, I guess, is seeing these guys come in with their families versus kids who are getting dropped off by their families. But these guys are talking about their kids, their wife, whatever they're doing in their life. And so that part of it, getting Arkansas fans to see that these guys that we think of as kids at time in college have turned into grown men, and what successes they've had, that their college time at Arkansas paid off for them. So I think that's the biggest thing for me with Arkansas hosting. And then, of course, we got a little home backing. Guys talking crap for us versus the other way around.
Yeah.
So, Courtney, I do have something to tell you, man. So Monty was just talking about how long it's been since Courtney was at the University of Arkansas. So I was a big fan growing up, Courtney, and when you came in as a freshman with Rodney and you had Mike Washington, me and some of my buddies, we would recreate the moment where you were just dribbling endlessly against Texas. And you had made it to the lane, and you found Big Mike up there at the elbow, and he just drove it to the basket for a dunk for the win. Man, I just wanted to tell you that me and my buddies recreated that over and over and over again, and it's just been a pleasure to have you on tonight, man. And I appreciate y'all both coming on. What's it like being able to wear the red and white again?
I mean, man, it's something I can't describe. I mean, I'm from Alabama, but I'm Arkansas. So I haven't been back since. You know, I haven't left Fayetteville, Springdale area since. So, I mean, I love it. I mean, it means everything to me. I mean, this fan base is awesome. They still notice me and come up to me and ask for autographs. So, it's just, you know, it's a blessing. The best fan base ever.
And that's what I kind of wanted to piggyback. You know, those players that haven't played it, you know, we talk about Arkansas truly being one of the best fan bases in the country. So what does that mean to you? It's been a while since you've played. But it's like riding a bike. You come and you put that Arkansas jersey on, you hit the game winner, and it's almost like that you did it in Bud Walton Arena again. So, I mean, what does that mean to you that it truly feels like, you know, yeah, you've been away from the program for so long, but it still feels like you're still part of the family?
It just shows the first class of the fans here. You know, everything's first class. You know, it's no trendiness with them. It's all heart. You know, so that's forever. And you know, that's why we're the best fan base ever. That's why.
Well, Monty, I guess we'll end it with this. I know you're cutting away time to be with us, and we really appreciate it. You know, just talk about tomorrow night's game. You know, what keys to win, and hopefully advance into Wichita next week or whenever the Wichita region will start.
I mean, the game plan is simple. It's we call it KISS in high school. Keep it stupid simple. We don't have to do anything crazy. All we got to do is play simple basketball. You hear so many high school coaches in text messages telling me, hey, you know, all y'all do is play pick and rolls or find a way to get in pick and rolls. And used to, when I didn't get to coach these high-level guys, I'm like, man, I hate teams that just only pick and roll. But then you think about it, basketball is as simple as a pick and roll if executed right with the right people. So it's so fun to watch just a clean basketball game. For us, keep it simple. Even Omaha's coach after the game, the GM, they all came up, congratulated us and whatnot. They said, man, y'all just play hard as heck. And I'm like, that's Arkansas, man. We always have a chip on our shoulder. We like to be the villains because we have such a chip on our shoulder. So for us, just come in, keep it simple, do our jobs, be professional, get out, get ready for Wichita's regional.
Well, and I've said one more thing, but it's the fact that the refs let you play. I mean, I've noticed that. The refs don't call the touchy fouls. They actually let you go in, and if two people are going for the ball and they're slapping, they don't just automatically just call a foul. So, Courtney, I guess we'll end it on this. Like, you know, y'all are out there playing for $1 million, and you are playing in a league where the refs really let you play, and we're not used to seeing that. So, you know, what does that mean to you and the team that you know that, yes, there's going to be some calls that could go either way, but for the most part, these refs are out there letting you play?
I love it. I mean, it shows who really wants it. There's men amongst boys, and you quickly see who the men are. So for me, I love it. I mean, I love the physicality of it. I don't feel anybody can beat me to a 50-50 ball. So good luck with that. I love it.
Well,
I
guys,
think it should be repping like this universally.
Yep. That's what you're used to when you play for Arkansas. That's right. Well, guys, listen, it was a pleasure. It was an honor. Good luck tomorrow night. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be rooting you on tomorrow night.
I appreciate you guys. Woo pig suey.
Appreciate you.
Oh, guys.
Well, that was Coach Monty Patel and Courtney Fortson of Team Arkansas TBT, and they were brought to you by the Workman's Travel Center Hotline. And, you know, they're sitting there relaxing and getting ready for the game tomorrow. I mean, and I want to say something. The sound might have been off. It might not have been, you know, high quality. But you know what? This is the thing that, you know, you're cooped up in a hotel room and you're getting prepared for tomorrow night's game. And, you know, they're just trying to do the best they can and have the best time of their life while they're up there. So I really want to thank them both for coming on and and just being a part of the broadcast on the fly. It's just one of the things that, me and Monty's really been able to, be in touch and stay in touch, being part of the team. And since last year, him taking over, and then, Courtney, playing this year has just been, I'll tell you what, he's been the difference maker in this team. And I think he kind of alluded to them having one of their weapons available tomorrow night. So we'll see who that is, see who's gonna be playing for them tomorrow night. So Jacob, I think that was a really good interview there.
Oh yeah, man, it was great. I've always been wanting to talk to Courtney about that whole deal with how I used to mimic what he did. I wasn't the point guard. I was more of the undunkable Mike version of Mike Washington. I didn't have, but I was told one time by my assistant coach in basketball. He said, "Look, Jacob, your vertical is like a half an inch. It's not very high. It's like this high. Don't jump." And so I didn't want to share that with Courtney. Just a little fun bit.
We used to call those paper hops. We used to, somebody jump up. If you could slide a piece of paper underneath them, they'd call them. And that's another thing. Like I want to mention, these guys they come and go, and Courtney answered it perfectly. That really shows a true testament to this fan base. I mean, that's what makes and I want to give this team a props, and that's the Wichita. Like getting to go there and seeing that atmosphere and packing 10 to 12,000, whatever the capacity is for this stadium, they pack it. It's because these players, whether they're alumni or not, they represent that school. And I would love to get Hunter Yurchek, Coach Musselman, Jordan Weaver, whoever we can talk to try to make this happen to where we could possibly get this in the Bud Walton Arena. But it's a special feeling to be able to connect with Sonny Weems, who played at UFAS as well before he went to U of A. Courtney Fortson, Dusty Hannes played at Arkansas, Hunter Mickelson, all the guys that was there, Jalen Barford, who, he's been the star of the team. We didn't really hardly talk about it, but I mean, that you talking about, he's a TBT legend. He's played with Jackson, the underdogs before he started playing with Arkansas. And, just watching some of these press conferences and these videos with Sonny Weems and him saying multiple times, you're putting on this Arkansas jersey and you're representing the state. And it really shows, what it means to be a true Razorback, whether you can be technically, you can't say anything about Razorbacks because it's not affiliated with the university, but you're still, I remember Jermaine Taylor boxing Bernard Hopkins way back in the day, and they're calling the Hogs in the Grand MGM in Las Vegas. Dude had Arkansas on his shorts, and they're calling the Hogs. Bryce Mitchell, Thug Nasty.
Yeah.
That's just the state that we live in. And I'm very honored to live in the state that we do and have this fan base. So, but I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to gather ourselves and jump in the comments, because after the break, we're going to talk about our personal favorite sports memories. It doesn't have to be, we can break down Arkansas, and then, it could be a 2-part thing. We can do our favorite Arkansas memory, and we can do in general. So jump in the comments after the break. Tell us your favorite sports memory, and we will come back right after the break.
Shelby Taylor Trucking serves all your
Two one.
And we want to welcome you back to another Hog Talk Live, always presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in Ozark, Arkansas. Be sure to go down to downtown Ozark, catch you a drink. They've always got live music, some of the best food around. And we really want to shout out to our other sponsors, Shelby Taylor Trucking, McCoy Tigert Pharmacy, Camelot Exteriors and Roofing out of Norman, Oklahoma, Grind It Right, Stump Grinders in Northwest Arkansas, and also as well as A-Plus Insurance in Ozark, Arkansas. If it wasn't for our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do this show, and always presented by Bet Online. So, and here's the deal, if you know of anybody, wanting to advertise, we're always looking for segments that we want to, name after, our sponsors, all of our guests come to you by the Workman's Travel Center hotline. Workman's Travel Center, they have locations in Ozark and Rudy. And I'm really thankful because I'm telling you, Jacob, good as well as we did when we started this thing 4 years ago. We didn't know what a sponsor was, and here we are. We got a family and, a family of sponsors that are willing to let us promote them and, help us out to run these live shows. And of course, our good man, Corey Heineman up in Springdale, Arkansas. But Jacob, I guess we'll start with you, and I guess we'll do two-part. I'd love to hear, your favorite, just in general. This could be high school, little league, anything, your favorite sports memory, and then your favorite Arkansas sports memory.
Okay. So as far as sports memory goes, I'm going to go kick it back to my high school days. El Dorado, Arkansas. Shout out to my Wildcats. And it's not been very long ago. It was being able to see my little brother go live out his dream. and Porter knows where I'm going with this.
I sent you the video.
Yeah. He so I'm sitting there in the stadium. It's freezing rain. Kyle Sutherland has his little purple umbrella down there on the sideline. But yeah, my little brother, 6A El Dorado Wildcats, winning the state championship this year. But being able to see him actually get in the action. So he was an offensive lineman, starting offensive lineman, right guard this past season for El Dorado. And right before halftime, he goes out and catches a lateral. And I told Cam after the game, man, you should have kept on running. So he gets the lateral. And he was the last one. He ended up getting tackled by three guys. I think maybe four guys. And Cameron, at the time, he was like 6'3", 350. A pretty big kid. And he's hard to bring down. And he catches the ball and he goes down. And then at halftime, El Dorado's leading. And he's up there pumping up the Greenwood side of the crowd. And then he turns around and is like getting the El Dorado side of the crowd pumped up. And man, it was really cool seeing that. And everybody, my phone blew up. It wasn't just your video. And my boss, who's actually watching the game at home, he texted me and he said, "Isn't 78 your brother?" I said, "Oh yeah, that's my brother." Yeah, he got into the action. So that was really cool being able to see that.
I want to tell you.
Yeah, both of our senior classes won a state championship.
I was at work, and I worked for DirecTV, and so I knew the game were going on, and so I was at this sweet lady's house, and I was hooking up her satellite, turned it on, and every time when I hook a new customer up, I'll go to a local channel and then to go to like a Discovery Channel. Well, yeah, I was like, well, I know the state championship games are on. I said, let's go to 13 real quick, PBS. And I see this play unfolding, and I'm like, holy crap. So I start recording it. And I didn't know at the time it was your brother. I had no idea. And I just started filming it. And then when I found out it was your brother, but like your point, what you said, when you have the other team applauding, that's a lineman's dream, to be able just to touch the ball and run it, whether you score or not. But yeah, that was a really cool small world moment that just happened to turn on the TV, and there it was, and that was your brother who got to touch the ball and run it. That was really awesome.
Yeah, he only went about 5 yards, but it was probably the coolest thing ever. Like, it's the offensive lineman's dream. Like
You get that in the
was
state
really cool.
championship ring. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, exactly. That and the state championship ring. That's cool. What about yours?
Man, it's tough to choose when it comes to general because when you have kids that play and,
Right.
you know, you have a team that you never thought. So, I mean, I guess I'm going to kind of do a 1A and 1B. I never thought that Clemson would win a national championship. I remember a tweet and a Facebook post of playing NCAA football and saying this is the only time that Clemson would ever win a national championship. So for when Deshaun Watson hit Hunter Renfro and they beat Alabama, that right there, I don't care if Clemson never wins another national championship again. The one that they won in 18 is not as special to me as the one that they won in 16. You know, for having a school that you never thought you would get to witness a national championship. But no. The favorite sports memory is the fact that, you know, having a child with a disability and never knowing that he would get to, you know, do anything in sports. Like, you know, that with autism, you're never going to be like a football player. And my son Gavin was in first grade and they let him run the ball and score a touchdown. So for me, you know, that will always be my greatest sports memory is getting to watch him score a touchdown and to witness that because that will be the only time, you know, and he's in 7th grade now and, you know, he's going to get to be the equipment manager or the water boy. But you know what? This kid shows up every single day to practice. He's ready to do it, loves doing it. He got to be in the Special Olympics and they had a unified Special Olympics. And him and his stepbrother got to do the bowling and they ended up getting second in state in bowling. It's weird how you can really name off multiple things, but yeah, I can put my pride aside and say, you know, that nothing will ever top what I got to witness him getting to score that touchdown because, I mean, he was in first grade, it was flag football or whatnot, but knowing that that will be the only time kind of he'll be able to do something like that, I don't think anything will ever touch that.
Yeah. Like, I remember being able to see my little brother do that because I've been watching him. I remember mom and dad couldn't take him to his first football practice back in 3rd grade. And I had just graduated high school. I had been out for 2 years. Gosh, dog, I feel so old. But me and my little brother, we're like 12 years apart. And so being able to see him go and open a chapter in his life and then go and end it with a state championship. And, you know, that's what all kids think about is winning titles. That was really cool. And I try not to get emotional here, but seeing my little brother have success and that's all he worked for. That's all him and his teammates worked for was winning a championship. Nothing about personal achievements. Nothing about, you know, anything that I want to go out there and win a scholarship. That's what it's all about. Get a scholarship. Like, no, these guys had a team first mentality and they wanted to go out and win. And that was probably one of the most athletic offenses too that I had ever seen. I mean, at the high school level.
Well, their defense was stout. Their defense was on point. You were talking about, look, when you can sit there and say you shut down Greenwood, that's saying something. You didn't play some chump team, but no, I mean, I get like what you're saying with holding back emotions. I mean, that's one of them subjects that if I was talking in front of a bunch of people, like I have to look away from the camera because if I'm looking at the camera, you get emotional about it because it's just getting to witness stuff like that. But yeah, I feel you on that and getting to.
I can identify with you with the Special Olympics talk too because my little sister competed in it as well, and she's nationally renowned. I mean, you ask some people, and she's a big NASCAR fan, and that's something that she relates to. And you will see people like that are big NASCAR gurus, like works for Fox or NBC, former NASCAR drivers. They'll talk about her like it's just the craziest thing.
That's
like
awesome.
She's NASCAR's version of Kane and Sandy for the Razorbacks. That's what's really neat and cool is them taking her in. That's the cool thing about seeing people like that get involved in Special Olympics. Joe Nichols, one of the big country singers too. He has a sister with Down syndrome, and he's really involved. And I was able to meet him and how kind and tenderhearted he was to the special needs community was something so cool. I know we're getting off topic here, but yeah, that's another memory too. I remember so many years
personal. I mean, that's what I want it to be like. And I remember we done a podcast a long time ago. I really want to say it was one of the first ones I was ever on. And matter of fact, the second article I ever wrote for Tyler Butler out in South Carolina was the track and field deal that Gavin got to. And the first time I got to experience it. I mean, it's overwhelming. It is overwhelming. Anybody who, I mean, I challenge, and I did back then. This is 4 years ago. It's crazy. 4 years ago, you're like, I challenge anybody to do anything for the Special Olympics because it will change. It will instantly change your life. These kids are out there, no care in the world, playing these games, and Greenwood put on amazing Olympic Village. It had a karaoke thing where the kids can be kids, and I mean, we can talk the same talk with this because we share it, and nothing has ever moved me. I remember like when I got in my van and was getting ready to leave from my lunch break. I mean, it took me 5 minutes, a good 5-10 minutes to really like just gather myself of what I just witnessed. Your son's a part of this. Your child is a part of this, and how it moved you. I mean, there will be nothing ever like it again, and then again, like with Gavin, he's in 7th grade now and getting to be the equipment manager and getting to call it up at practice. You hear these stories of them taking him in and making him a part of the team. I don't know. If you remember the, oh my goodness, he was the equipment manager at this high school in Pennsylvania, and he had autism. And they let him play, and he ended up scoring 20 points in the game. He won an ESPY award for it. And this kid entered the game just to say that he was going to play the game, and then hit 6 threes. And it was just – and I'm sitting there just bawling, because it's a moving story. And for him to get an ESPY, that was amazing.
Yeah. And then you saw it last year. I think I know his last name was Tollison, but it was over there at Lake Hamilton. In the basketball, their basketball team last year, and it was against El Dorado. Just so happened to be against El Dorado, and he went out there and hit like 2 or 3 threes there in the middle of the ball game, and that's what moments are about. Like I know we like to think about the Darren McFadden's and the highlight tapes of Ryan Mallett and Jarius Wright and all the greats. But you stand back and you look at that and you think that is a special sports moments. Those kids that work just as hard as your regular guys that are on the bench, the managers that all they dream about is going out there and just shooting one basket and making it, and their dreams coming true. That's what it's all about, man.
Because they would never get that in a normal setting. They would never get the opportunity. And that's the thing. Like, we're seeing more and more of it. But people don't understand that you see a lot of it, but you're like, that's the only time they'll get to do that. That's the only time they'll get to witness it. So, and I know we've kind of went on a little tangent about it, but it means a lot to me. Like we were talking about the basketball tournament and the autism stuff. I play softball and I swing an autism bat. I swing with autism gloves. I do what I can. I do my part to raise awareness for kids with autism. That's special to me. I'll always, I've got a tattoo of a Clemson Tiger Paw with the autism puzzle pieces. I never wanted to brand myself with my team because I felt like I would jinx myself. But when I did that and then included the puzzle pieces, it was special, and so it's one of the things. You play for a cause, just like the basketball tournament. You play for a cause. So, I'm 40 now. I should have no business to go out there playing softball on Saturdays. But when I do, I want to raise awareness for autism. I want to go out, and I love the bats that they make just for autism awareness. It's one of the things that you can get now with the puzzle pieces and stuff like that. It really means a lot to me. So I make sure to get it because they provide it for us. So I'll spend any amount of money for it.
Right. And let's talk a little bit about some Razorback stuff. Maybe in some Clemson stuff here. The memories. And you talked about last week about the memory of Deshaun Watson to
Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah. That I watched that play the other day, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's an illegal pick play," but man, that was a methodical drive. Mm-hmm. Something that you have Jalen Hurts going 50 yards to the end zone, and then the very next drive, and Deshaun Watson comes back and with like 10 seconds left, brings them all the way down the field, and you could have tied it with a field goal, but hey, you got time on the clock. Don't go out there and win it. And they did. That was really cool.
And you had Leggett, the tight end, make some, critical catches. Williams. Yeah. There was just catches that was, I can replay that final drive. Funny story about it. I'm very superstitious when I watch Clemson play or even if it's an Arkansas game. If I'm watching a game and I'm rooting for a certain team, I'm very superstitious. I have to have things a certain way. So all my wife and kids have went to bed and I'm watching the game, have not been bothered all game. Clemson's up. I hear a door open. And as my oldest stepson is walking down the hallway, Jalen Hurts is running in for that last touchdown with 2 minutes left in the game. I turn around and just say, "Go to your room." And he's going to be a junior now, but he was in 3rd, 4th grade then, just scared the living daylights out of him. He turns around and just about face, doesn't ask questions, goes to his room, and then that epic drive happened. But you know what? That's the thing. People are going to say illegal pick here, there, whatever. I don't know. It's just one. It's almost like the tuck rule. I'll never admit that it was a legal pick play, but still yet. We got the national title, but I do want to say a favorite Arkansas memory for me. It was actually, and I might get some people mad about it, but it was actually in a loss. I remember when Arkansas played Florida back in 2003. Matt Jones was the quarterback. Chris Leak was playing. This was my very first time getting to go watch a game in Fayetteville. I got to go watch. I watched a lot of Razorback games when they played in Little Rock. When Tennessee had Heath Schuler, I would watch them play, catch some games down there, and then I would my dad was in the Army, so we lived on Little Rock Air Force Base. So I'd got to go to watch some games at War Memorial. But my favorite Razorback memory was back before where people could actually go outside the stadium and watch it from the hill on the north side of the stadium. So Florida was up big time. 31-17, something like that in the 4th quarter. Well, Matt Jones just leads them on this comeback. And Chris Leak throws an interception, and people had left the stadium. I want to say there was only 20 to 30,000 people in the stadium. But where I was sitting, I was underneath the upper deck.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear the person next to you speak. That's how loud it was with just 20. I couldn't imagine being in that stadium during the Texas game when it was a full house. I could not, because I remember what it was like when 20,000. But I just remember throwing that pick. You're thinking Matt Jones is going to lead him to a win, and then you see the penalty flag. It was just one of them.
I remember that
Gut-wrenching. Tony Buick, he did hit him head to head, helmet to helmet content. But it was just what I got to witness in that was one of my favorite Razorback memories. But then you get to cover the sports and you get to see what these programs like the basketball team, the football team, the women's sports, all these programs were 5 years ago compared to now. Right now in Arkansas history is my favorite sports memory. Yeah. Because we're getting to see the pinnacle of every sport. I guess you can say pinnacle of football because or basketball because they're not winning that. But I'm just saying, you get what I'm getting when how successful every single sport is here at the University of Arkansas, and getting to be, cover the programs that we get to cover. I mean, to me, that's the greatest sports memory without being, you see the background, I mean, you can't get immersed in Arkansas sports not covering the teams. I have an allegiance with my team, but I'm saying when it comes to Arkansas sports right now, getting to live in the moment, knowing that every season's going to be special, what Sam Pittman's done, Musselman, Neighbors, Weber, Watson, Hale, Deifel, all the coaches, Taylor, all the coaches that have been able to do things successfully at the University of Arkansas, has been an honor and a pleasure. We're able to do this podcast. We're able to have the fans that we have, because if they weren't good, we wouldn't have the fans we have.
Right.
They weren't successful, we wouldn't have. So long story short, my favorite Arkansas memory is what's going on right now at the University of Arkansas.
Yeah. Man, I've got so many that run through my head. And I think about Matt Jones and how he tore up Texas and Austin. And then you fast forward. And I'm a young guy. I'm only 30. And it feels like I have memories from the 80s and 90s and seeing Quinn Grovey be able to go out there and tear it up on the field. My earliest memories is seeing Matt Jones go out there and ball out. Being able to see him on senior day dunk the football over the goalpost and get a penalty. And then I remember the days of McFadden and the roar of the crowd as he crossed the 50, splitting defenders against LSU in 06. And even though they lost that game, I remembered the roar of the crowd. And I think somebody mentioned it kind of like how the crescendo of the crowd. You could hear him roar because you knew he was going to get 20 or 30 yards, but then he splits the defenders at the 50 and just goes on. And I mean, I never heard anything like it until Rocket Sanders did the same thing against Texas this past year. I haven't not heard a roar of a crowd like that since. And it's cool that they're both number 5s. Being able to see that. But I have a lot of memories, and a lot of people can agree with me with that. But one of the sweetest memories that in recent history is the moment that I knew Arkansas was about to pick up their first SEC victory under Sam Pittman against Mississippi State in Starkville during the COVID-shortened year. And I remember standing there in the living room in unbelief because we hadn't won a game. Arkansas hadn't won a game in like 21 consecutive SEC games. And being able to see Greg Brooks take an interception for a pick six, being able to see Hudson Henry catch a pass for a touchdown. And I didn't want to believe it because we were so conditioned to losing under Chad Morris. And then I remember sitting there taking a video of the whole thing, and I started singing "Sail On" by Lionel Richie. And I was telling the pirate, Mike Leach, "Sail on, pirate." Goodbye. I never felt so good. That SEC losing streak never felt so good ending it. And that was really, you look back at it now, that was the turning point in the Arkansas football era.
Yeah, you got all that pressure off your back. You got so much off your back there. And you bring up Darren McFadden. It just, he did a run against LSU, and it wasn't his run.
Oh, yeah.
It was the Casey Dick block.
Yes.
That, to me, I completely forgot about that. But you talking about a quarterback that ran 50, 60 yards down the field and just blew up this defender and so that was another one of those moments, like it always just comes back to your mind when you're thinking of Razorback. But you could go on and on, the Qualls dunk and just, just getting to win these, SEC titles and just the success in the football team and beating Texas A&M and getting all these firsts that these programs have had. But, we're just scratching the surface. I'm 40. And I just scratched the surface. I mean, I don't remember the heydays of the Holtz days in the 70s and the 80s. You know, I remember the name Quinn Grovey, but, you know, back then my idol was, you know, Rocket Ismail to Notre Dame. That was I mean, it's crazy how you get introduced to sports. And, you know, you think about, you know, I was in my cousin's bedroom and I seen this poster. It wasn't a poster. It was a tore out sheet of a Sports Illustrated, and it was Rocket Ismail on Notre Dame. That was my first sports hero. And then Ken Griffey Jr. and then Michael Jordan. And so you go on and on about these people, and, you know, the arguments. And when it comes to the GOAT, we're talking about Jordan and being the GOAT. Like, I will never come off that hill. There's just certain things that you'll never come off of.
Yeah, having a life-size poster of Dale Jr., Budweiser in my room, and then having a big poster of Mark McGuire, who was my idol. I played baseball growing up as a kid until I was 13 or 14 years old, and I idolized Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, and Derek Jeter and Pudge Rodriguez. Like, there's so many names I can think of baseball-wise and football-wise. I always was I loved going out in the yard and throwing a football across my body like Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm.
I idolized him. He was so much in my childhood. And you had Matt Jones, and there's just so many, man. I love this topic, not just Razorback-wise, but pro-wise and high school. Like, there's just so many things. I love that you brought that topic up to me this morning, because it got me to thinking about what are my moments. And I think about it, I'm like, there's so many, it's hard to pick just one.
It is. You know, you're talking about Mark McGuire. I mean, you look at baseball. There was no other better summer than the home run chase between Sosa and McGuire. You know, and then that home run derby. You're talking about home run derbies. Like, I'm watching the home run derby right now, you know, and when McGuire went off, and then what was the guy's name out of the Texas Rangers? He ended up hitting the record for most home runs in a round. You know, I mean, you start going, and then when you're talking about like the sweetest sound in sports, and when you hit a ball and you know it's gone, or you hear the crack of that bat and you know it's a home run, to me, the roar of a crowd, the swish of a net, nothing beats the sound of a ball getting hit off a bat and you know it's gone. Whether it's aluminum bat, composite bat, wooden bat, nothing sounds sweeter than when you blast a ball and you're like, okay, that's gone. That's gone. But yeah, it's just, you get taken back to your childhood years when you're talking about remembering sports memories and what your favorite memory is. And I hope, you know, to our fans and our listeners out there, you know, it takes you back when you're really trying to nail down one favorite sports memory that maybe it's personal, you know, that's what the good thing is about it. It's your favorite memory. It's not a top memory. It's not a top moment in sports. It is your time to be allowed to be like, that is the moment where I fell in love with sports. I fell in love with the Arkansas Razorbacks, or your favorite team. So, but I guess, Jacob, I mean, if you ain't got anything else, we'll wrap this baby up.
We had a long show there tonight, man. I don't really know if I have anything else, because, man, if we kept on talking about sports moments, I could go all night.
I know, if we kept on talking about sports.
Yeah. So, yeah, like we already talked about, we probably didn't even scratch the surface of what some of the SEC media days. We'd have to do another show tomorrow just to recap it.
Yeah, and that's what we'll pick up on that next week. We might even come on, depending on, you know, our schedules, of course.
Right.
We might do a Sunday show to, you know, kind of wrap up, you know, SEC media days. But we all know what that is. It's coach speak. It's you know, there might be a little excitement, but I don't get too wrapped up in SEC media days. But we're getting closer to the football season. Guys, Arkansas sports people, Hooten's magazine's coming out, so you know that's the official start of high school football. You know, I've got a stepson that's playing, you know, high school ball. I've got a stepson that's playing 7th grade ball. So I cannot wait. It's my favorite time of the year. Watching high school, you can give me college, TBT, anything. Man, I'm telling you, I was born and raised in Ozark. My parents went to Ozark. There is nothing that brings me greater joy than seeing my kids play for the Ozark Hillbillies. Just like with you and your brother, that he getting to play for El Dorado. There's no joy in it. There's nothing better than being at a football field on a Friday night.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, that will do it. Again, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our listeners. We will do it again next week. For myself, Porter Hayes, Jacob Davis, we will catch you next week.